Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. This is Reservations and I'm Jeremy Blair.
And I'm Rain Whalen.
Yeah, man, I mean, this is going to be a tough one. Only tough because I think I bit off a little more and I can chew with this one. Because honestly, it was just to push me to watch it because I love Tarkovsky and I love his style and his way of making films, but I was just like, I've always just, every time I want to sit down and watch something, I end up just watching stupid bullshit. And so I'm just like, you know what? Let's sit down. I want to watch Mirror and let's get it done. And you know what? It's great.
Yeah.
It's great.
So before we jump into it, because I realized this. This is the first time an episode's going to come out around around the actual time of a holiday.
Oh, that's
so,
a good point.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Hope everyone has fun with your families or not. I don't know what your home life is like. You may hate your family,
or not have one,
I mean,
obviously we're fortunate enough to have families. So we will be spending time. I have a lot of traveling to do.
We'll see. The axiom of having divorced parents is I have.
Oh, you come from a broken home as well.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's.
I always forget that.
Yeah, it's your fault that my parents got divorced.
Shut the fuck up.
So.
Yes, your mom. When your mom hears this episode, she's gonna be like, "Yeah, he's absolutely right."
Yeah, he's absolutely right. She's not gonna listen. She's not gonna watch a movie with subtitles.
But yeah, we hope everyone has a good Thanksgiving. Yeah. Because this episode actually will come out. Well, the video will come out the day before. So happy Thanksgiving.
And a successful Black Friday. People always forget to wish people a successful. Black Friday.
No one die, please, or get stabbed.
I don't care about that. I want you to get the stuff you want. You know what I mean? However, you plan on doing that.
Well, see, here's the problem though. Most businesses, most companies now they start their Black Friday deals like a week early.
Yeah.
So by the time of Black Friday, it's like, oh, well, I mean, I don't have to go in. I've already got everything I need.
Yeah. Yeah. And in my experience, I've done 2 midnight Black Fridays at Best Buy, by the way. And it was never that chaotic. I mean, yeah, there was a lot of people, but it was never, it's not like it is in the movies. I think people tend to think that it is like that. And
I
not
want
in
to
my
say,
experience.
well, and also elsewhere too. Elsewhere, it's a little crazier.
That's a good point.
Or we can't say for certain. But here, because I've worked at Best Buy during Black Friday. And there's a ton of people, but it's not like batshit crazy.
No.
It's only just be respectful of the employees. I mean, come on.
I would hope most people are, just because, it's like.
It's just like, man, like they had to come away from their families to cater to you. So just be respectful.
That's right. And honestly, I've seen some of the Black Friday deals. Like, I always look for the movie deals.
Yeah.
There's not really anything good out that they're selling that.
Yeah.
I want or need.
Yeah.
So that kind of sucks.
All right, we've stalled long enough.
So, okay. Tarkovsky's The Mirror.
The Mirror. I mean, you could say it anyway. On IMDb, it says The Mirror. On the Criterion, it says just Mirror. Even the opening credits say Mirror. So, who the fuck knows how you actually are supposed to say this movie?
So, where to start?
As we're talking about off mic, I'm going to be leaning into you for this.
That's okay.
Because, okay. So I want to give you my opinion.
Sure, yeah.
I was telling you a little bit about it off mic. I did really, really enjoy the movie. And I have something to openly admit to you.
Okay.
Because it's been a while since we've talked about a Tarkovsky movie.
Yeah.
I actually never finished Stalker.
You never finished Stalker. That's interesting.
I got actually towards the end, and I was like, nothing. Kind of what I was talking about, because I do remember what I was telling you in the actual episode.
I don't remember it at all.
Which was like I stopped paying attention to the subtitles because there wasn't a lot of talking in Stalker.
No,
but that's what was turning me off. I was like, oh my god, like nothing is happening, and there was probably. I want to say I turned it off right at the climax. Like,
absolutely the point that nothing is happening. And
let's see, and after we did that episode, the more I thought about Stalker, the more I was like, I'm gonna have to watch it again. And of course now it's on my wish list.
Yeah.
So going into this, I was like, okay, I'm not going to turn it off, which I didn't. But I wanted to strike that for the record because I want to say I was like,
it's like 2 years ago.
I finished it, dude, and I was like, I didn't fucking finish it.
Unreal, man.
I will, once I get it on Criterion, I will rewatch it and finish it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Anyway, but so going into this, I was like, you know, there may be moments. Well, since doing this for 2 years, I've come to learn, like, you know what? Like, it's okay. If there's nothing happening, it's fine. Which, in this movie, there are times where nothing happens, and I actually really appreciated, like, just looking at the scenery. Mm-hmm. Mainly because, like, a lot of the shots are so, like, beautiful. Like, Ashley wasn't watching with me at all, but I would, like, pause the movie at certain points back. You need to look. And she's like, oh, yeah, that is. And I'm like, but it was hard for me to discern really, not necessarily what was going on, but how it was happening. Because I loved that it was in non-linear format.
Yeah.
You know, it does have a plot, but it's not told in order. Mm-hmm. But a lot of the meaning behind things was lost on me, I guess. Mm. And kind of how I mentioned off mic, I did occasionally not necessarily look away, but maybe I looked down at my phone and I'd look back up and I'm like, wait, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
And worried if I rewound it, it was going to make me more confused. So I just said, we're moving on.
Yeah.
There was a lot I was just still trying to figure out because Tarkovsky doesn't really give you a lot, especially in this movie. He doesn't give you a lot to go off of.
No, a lot of the moments in this film are just based on his real life growing up, based on his father's poetry, which he reads himself.
Yeah, I thought that was cool.
Yeah. Moments with his mother, moments during World War II, living in Soviet Russia during that time.
Yeah.
But really, it's not so much about what's happening and why. It's more just about living within these memories and you know, the feeling of nostalgia. And nostalgia normally, you know, for most people means like a happy memory, but that doesn't necessarily mean that. It just means, you know, looking back on a memory, right? So you know, it's reliving these moments, and I think what this movie does very well is not only is it showing you a moment in this dying man's memory, but it's also showing you things like how it must have felt, right? Because we don't just remember things with our eyes, we remember things with everything.
Yeah.
Right? And so, for instance, I have a lot of favorite moments in this movie, but one of them, and kudos to Cinefix, again, with IGN, for helping me out with this one. They're recalling the moment where the boy, his name starts with an I, and I don't remember what it was.
Ignat.
Thank you. Is being asked to read some poetry.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, by the strange lady that mysteriously disappears.
And here we're going to get to that. So he's reading the poetry. Someone knocks on the door. Wrong house, right? Mm-hmm. He comes back, and she's gone. Instead of, you know, it's of course to represent lost memory. That memory is gone, right? He can't recall the rest of that moment. And so instead of showing her fade away, it's where her cup was.
Yeah, I love that.
And having the fog naturally
dissipate.
Yeah. And disappear. Is doing what I think a special effect could never do, and is show something organically disappear, and of course matched with that music that is like meant for like some sort of horror movie. Is brilliant. Yeah,
the stirring strings and the sense of unease. Man, like I said, I loved it. Like the cinematography was out of this world. You know, I want to say I've talked about it enough, but like, it's so hard to believe that this movie from the 70s and also in a different country achieved some of the shots that they did. Like when we're introduced to Maria for the first time, the camera literally pushes over her shoulder.
Yeah.
It just...
I know. It's super cool, man. It's really well done. What and something I thought about last night, and I knew how they did it.
Okay.
Because of just how it looked, but I was still so incredibly impressed. And it's when that doctor is walking away. So the doctor comes up to the mother, and her name is
Maria.
Maria.
Well, it's like Maria Marushka.
Yeah, something.
I think it's just Maria.
Something crazy, right?
Yeah.
Something in Russian. And as he's walking away, we get that gust of wind.
Oh, dude.
Right? And we get two, right?
That was so cool.
And I was blown. It's obviously helicopters, and that's how they did it. They had a helicopter behind the camera, and they just turned the rotors on. They had two in different sections of that field.
Dude,
and it just blew me away because I'm just like, how in the world did they do that? You know, like how did they pull that off? It's so cool.
Yeah, man.
And it seems so natural.
Yeah,
that wind just gusts and moves. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Okay, so before we start confusing everyone, so the film is told, as Jeremy said, through memory, through this poet's name, Alexei, as he's just remembering moments from his childhood, from his adolescence, and from his adult life, going from the 30s, the 40s, and then the 60s. And he is just recalling, World War II and post-war and then post-war.
And I mean, and just like someone else's memory, it bounces back and forth. We're not getting this in order. And we keep going back to other moments in time. So I love how the movie starts with this quasi sort of speech therapy session.
Yeah.
We're trying to get this kid to stop stuttering.
Yeah.
And it works.
Yeah, because Ignat, and that's so seamless too. Ignat turns on the TV. Who we should mention, Ignat is Alexei's son, as we learned later. Mm-hmm. He turns on the TV, and that's what he's watching.
Yeah.
And I didn't catch that at first, and then I was like, oh, he's watching. He's
watching that. It has nothing to do with him or anybody else. It's just, but of course I'm sure it has a deeper meaning. Again, yeah. I really should have watched this way earlier in the week so I could have plenty of time to do this. But I also like how these are just first thoughts.
Yeah.
Right? I wouldn't be opposed to maybe a year from now doing this movie again with more time.
Yeah. A redo.
Yeah.
A redux.
Yeah, exactly. Like an Apocalypse Now redux. We could do this again because, again, these are just first impressions and sort of using our collective knowledge of film and Tarkovsky and trying to piece things together that we can and some we can't. And that's going to be one I can't right now, is see the significance of this thing on the television.
Yeah. And we should also mention, this is the first time that we're doing a movie that both of us are seeing for the first time.
Yeah.
As you admitted last week that you've never finished this. And of course me, again, after gaining this appreciation for Tarkovsky after we did Stalker, I wanted to see it, especially when you kind of hyped it up for me. You're like, dude, let's get a Criterion release. I was like, well, gotta add it.
Yep.
And, it's...
Now there's just two more that need them and then we're good.
Yeah, yeah. Please, Criterion, please.
Sacrifice,
not
nostalgia.
Rushing. Not rushing,
Let's
but
go.
sacrifice and nostalgia, please.
Yeah, come on.
Because I've got all his other movies on my wish list.
Yeah.
But
now,
anyway.
it's funny that we're mentioning his past work because I don't know if you caught it.
I caught it. I was like, hey! Tarantino before Tarantino.
Because he does this in Solaris, I think, also.
Okay. Which was before this, right?
Yeah. Where he mentions Andrei Rublev. That's horrible pronunciation, but we're
sorry to our Russian listeners.
It's a film in the 60s about the saint of the same name. And presumably he's named after, I don't know. And the poster, it's like
I think it's
a French poster or something.
a French, or I thought it was Italian.
Oh, it might be an Italian
because it
poster.
says le.
Oh, it's Italian poster.
Yeah, it's
I
like
think you're right.
le something de Tarkovsky.
And it's in one of the shots in the first phone call.
With adult Alexei to his mother.
Right. We're getting that tracking shot, and then that poster
Yeah,
is there.
Yeah, I caught it, and
I
I
was like, that's
rewound,
cool.
and I rewound it so Ashley could see, and of course she was just like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, it's super rad. I was
Yeah.
really blown away by that. And all right. So other things that I love.
Okay.
Okay, because again, it's hard to do this in a way that we would normally, I think, which is sort of take you down the plot. I think that would be
Yeah, the plot is
not only difficult for us, but also I think it would just waste time.
well, and also I agree with you, man. Like, so I picked up the movie pretty early yesterday. Ashley and I had brunch, and then we went to Not Hastings. I picked it up,
Yep.
and once we were done, kind of running our errands, we came home, and I just chilled for a little bit, and debated if I wanted to start watching it.
By the way, the packaging,
Yeah, it's rad as hell.
God, it's
We're using the poster that's on the Criterion mainly because I really like it.
it's really rad. Yeah.
And also all the other ones are hideous, and the original theatrical poster I think is almost impossible to find.
Yeah, and the ones that by hideous he means super pixelated. They're like we wouldn't be able to superimpose it here and
Yeah,
need
no.
to see it because there are some that I love, and that's of Maria floating over the bed
Yeah.
or like stuff like that. Those posters are so cool, but again they're either too small and they won't fit,
Yeah.
or whatever.
Anyway, and so I was like, you know what, I should, multiple times yesterday, I was like, I should go ahead and start watching it. Had I done that, I probably could have formed some sort of timeline.
Mm-hmm.
But having watched it at about 8 o'clock, yeah.
It's about the time I started.
Yeah. I watched it at 8 and got done about 10:45, and I was like,
Movie's not that long, by the way.
it's not, but I had to pause it a few times to like grab a snack or something.
I had to pause to eat, so
Yeah.
once.
But yeah, I was just like,
And it was during the really cool part. At least I thought it was cool, just because I almost grabbed Haley to watch it because he was speaking Spanish. And there's no subtitles.
I loved that.
And there was no subtitles for this man talking about his bullfighting career or just bullfighting in general.
Yeah.
There are no subtitles, and I don't speak Spanish as well as Haley does. And I got a few things right.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, he's describing bullfighting and what it entails and how you do it and how he does whatever. But I love that, and I had a positive movie. But
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up because I loved that scene. I really love it. In a foreign language film, they have another foreign language in it, and they don't subtitle it for the audience because, to the characters in the scene, they don't know what he's saying.
Right.
So why would I subtitle it for you?
Exactly. Why would
Because it's not Maria, it's
No, it's his wife. Because every time
Natalia.
every time he thinks of his mother, he thinks of her,
yeah.
which is why she plays both parts.
Yeah, his wife is Natalia.
Which is unbelievable. I love it. I love that this woman is playing both parts.
Yeah.
Because it's sort of that, it's a little Oedipus-y, I guess.
Yeah.
But I like that. I think it wouldn't have been super Tarkovsky to put another woman in that place of his mother,
Yeah.
right? Because at first I just thought we're seeing a lot of different scenes with his mother in it, and a lot of it didn't make sense. And eventually he says that, when I think of my mother, I think she has your face, right?
Yeah.
So I go, oh, got it.
Yeah, and
And of course it's also plays to the malleability of memory.
yeah. Yeah. Now we should also mention we never see adult Alexei.
No.
Which is something I loved. We just hear his voice.
He's in the bed, but you see his hand.
You see his hand, yeah. And I just love that because Tarkovsky shows us him as a child, as a young man, which the same actor who plays Ignat plays Alexei at adolescence, also playing into memory. But when he becomes an adult, we don't know what he looks like. And I think, at least my interpretation of it is Tarkovsky is like, I don't want you to care what he looks like. Who cares what he looks like? He is dying and remembering these things, so we're seeing it through his eyes.
Right.
But of course, as a child and adolescence, the world is much bigger.
Yeah.
That's why we see Alexei in the memory. But when he's an adult, his world is much smaller. His wife, his kid, or his ex-wife, I should say. And so we see the world through his eyes.
Which is really interesting. I love that choice.
Yeah.
I guess in a sense it is modern day, I guess, because he's an adult but he's not sick yet, right?
Yeah.
But he is characters are looking right in the camera.
Yeah.
Because that's who they're talking to, right?
Well, see, and of course, I just love that. I loved that it's mainly that actress. I'm not going to pronounce her name. And I should also mention Future Rain let us down last week when he edited the Single Man episode. He was supposed to do certain things, and it didn't hit him until after the video was edited and exported. That he was like, "Oh shit, I didn't do any of the corrections or like name drops."
Whoopsies.
So Future Rain, for the love of God, don't forget this time to put in that actress's name.
Yeah. But hey, you put chapters in, which is cool.
Yeah. And if you like that, for the love of God, let us know in the comments.
Or on the Facebook group.
Yes, I meant to mention that last week. Yes, we have a Facebook group. So if you don't really care about our Facebook page, but we have a Facebook group, we should probably promote it on the Facebook page.
Probably.
So that way you can interact with other listeners if you want to do that. Anyway.
It does.
Anyway, so I loved that. Primarily throughout the most of the movie, she is talking to camera, and I love that. Even in the final shot when she, when it's his father asking his mother, do you want a boy or a girl? And she looks directly.
I know.
I loved it.
I know.
It was so good.
I know.
Now,
It's
if I
so
can
good.
only figure out the meaning behind it.
And that might be hard because, it's not just like we're not trying to decipher a meaning from like a David Lynch film or, something like that. This is something, and you see it in every review for this film. It's something that's so deeply personal.
Yeah.
And I saw something that I really liked, which is it's so private. I like the word private instead of personal because private insinuates that we're not supposed to be saying this stuff.
Yeah.
Right? That he is, giving us access to something that is completely supposed to be his own and nothing else.
Yeah.
Right? And again, having his dad read pieces of his poetry as narration, I really liked.
Yes.
Now me trying to hash out the poetry and what that means is its own.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and he reads it so quickly too.
I know.
It takes you. You would have to rewind, watch it again. And luckily, there are subtitles, but he reads it just so quickly. It's hard for you to have a moment to catch. Like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And again, that's part of the whole, we're moving on. I missed it. We're moving on. And normally I don't do that, but with a movie like this, where I am having to rely on the subtitles, and there's so much, there's so much information given and not given simultaneously that I was just like, we're gonna move on.
It's like the fog on the table. It's what's not there, what's missing.
Yeah.
That means the most,
Yeah.
right? And so he's using both, things that we see and things that we're not seeing, that they both mean something. And, it's just so much, it's so dense. And
I really like that you use dense, because it feels like a very dense film while simultaneously feeling like a light film in terms of tone and weight. It's not very heavy-handed. It's very just this guy remembering stuff.
Yeah.
But then I'm gonna overload you with a ton of information with no context.
There are two more scenes that I am obsessed with.
Okay.
And so I want you to start thinking about yours.
Okay.
And we're gonna do it like this. We're gonna talk about the scene, and we're gonna try to break it down as best we can.
Okay.
Okay. So the first one I want to talk about is the dream sequence of Maria wetting her hair. It's in black and white. She's wetting her hair.
Oh yeah.
And then the room is decaying, and the ceiling is falling down, and those shots are incredible to me.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at it. I don't know what I'm looking at. Right. I know that this isn't a memory. This is a feeling, right?
Yeah.
And of course it's a dream sequence, but Tarkovsky's dream sequences are put in so slick that you don't know what is real and what isn't. In the sandwich that is real, dream, and real. Right?
Yeah.
Because he does the same thing in Stalker. When the stalker is laying down in that ravine or stream or whatever that is, and he's dreaming, that is also super hard, right? Because of what we've been seeing so far and the images we're seeing, things are already a little more surreal. And so when we get into this hyper surreal moment with this decaying
Room.
building,
Yeah.
and it seems like the room he lives in modern day, this is the building he lives in now, but his mother is young, or maybe it's his wife.
Yeah.
Right. And we're, and so that's sort of ambiguous. And then, what does it mean that the room is decaying? Is it to represent his illness? He's decaying, he's dying, right? And so young also, he's only in his 40s. And, it's so interesting. What did you think about that scene?
So that is one of mine, because I loved it. Yeah. I loved that it did get very surreal. I especially just like I really liked Maria or Natalia as she was kind of like dancing, but I did love the shots of the bits of roof just falling, and
everything's wet.
Everything's
right?
wet. The walls are covered in something.
Yeah.
It looks like it could be mold, but it's probably like moss or something.
And the black and white is so monochromatic.
Yeah.
It is black and white. There is no gray, right? This is straight black and white, which I like. It gives a different aesthetic to it.
Yeah, that was one of them, one of the two. Yeah, man. I tried to find something about that because I wanted to know. I'm like, this has to have a meaning to it. And somewhere maybe I was misreading, because I also didn't want to look away.
Yeah.
I probably should have. If you are commenting, you're probably not. But if you are commenting, like, well, why didn't you just pause the movie? Because I wasn't thinking about that, okay? I wanted to watch the movie and learn simultaneously.
Because I didn't think about it. That's funny.
But I really loved it. And so what I found was it was supposed to kind of thread that line back to, and it ties in with my second favorite shot of the barn on fire.
Yes, the barn on fire. That was mine. Yes. Yeah. Barn on fire.
Barn on fire
is
that's just a scene. Barn on fire
is one of the most incredible shots, because I think of the juxtaposition between the calmness in their house.
There's a fire. Don't scream.
Yeah. And then we follow Alexei.
Yeah, Alexei and his sister.
Out, and it's a tracking shot following them outside to look at the fire. And the fire is not just a fire, but it's like an inferno. It is gigantic.
Yeah, it has engulfed the barn. And all you can do is just as they do, just you have to stand and let it burn.
All you have to do is sit there and watch, because that's all you can do.
Yeah.
And
if it was a small fire, maybe they could have gotten it, but no, the barn it's gone. And I love the we see Maria, and I think they say that's their grandfather just watching it. It's
yeah.
And you can feel their helplessness. There's nothing they can do to stop it until it stops, until it gets small enough for them to stop it.
And of course, it's significant, the barn on fire, because later when he's on the phone during that shot with the poster, he's on the phone and he's asking his mom when was that fire, and she said it was 35. It was the same year that his dad left, and so he is he's making associations with the barn on fire and his dad leaving, in my personal opinion. So it's almost like he is remembering these two things at the same time, because they're both significant moments that happened near each other, right? And they're both events that change people's lives. It's not their barn, I don't think.
No.
And so it didn't change his life necessarily, but he's watching someone's life change for the negative. Like it's changing for the worst, and his life changed for the worst when his dad left.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think it might be a little bit of that. Cinefix does countless videos of The Mirror. They always choose it on their countdowns. They're huge, pretentious nerds when it comes to The Mirror, and they're always choosing it. And they even mention it. And this is why. Right?
Yeah.
It's shots like this, it's moments like this, it's feelings like this.
Yeah. It's a beautiful shot, like, because I want to say I've mentioned it on the show before, but like when a director can show beauty in this level of destruction, like it's gorgeous. Like, yes, it's terrible that someone's livelihood is gone now, but the beauty in that is this fire is also very beautiful. And of course, how Tarkovsky just like the framing was just so gorgeous.
I know.
Like, and I love that that's the menu on the Criterion.
Yeah.
I loved, because, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. But actually seeing it in the film, because of course it's zoomed in for the menu, but seeing it in the film, and so anyway, so I read that the decaying house and the barn on fire tie hand in hand. I'm going to go with yours. I agree with yours.
Okay.
That maybe he's just thinking about his mother or his ex-wife and knowing that, like, my body is failing me.
And of course, like, Tarkovsky knows you're not going to know which woman it is.
Yeah.
Right? And that's on purpose.
Yeah, because we see them both with their hair up, and we see them both with their hair down.
So it's not like we were even keeping up continuity that way. It's just they're basically the same person. So, especially with in this case, in the dream sequence, there's no context because it's a dream, it's a nightmare. Yeah. And so we're not getting to know who that is, right, in his mind. So it could be either or, and it's both.
So I also really liked the intercuts of newsreel footage.
Yeah. From the war. Yeah.
I loved that. Because, it wasn't just coverage on what was happening in Russia, but what was happening in China and, with I'm assuming the Communist Manifesto in China and, and then what looked like Italy, actually, or maybe it wasn't Italy. It probably was Moscow. But what is so baffling to me is that he achieved something that directors now can do, is seamlessly recreate newsreel footage, but have it intercut too. Because I want to say the scene where the parents are sending the children off, he recreated maybe?
I don't know.
It's a scene it looks
good.
It looks great.
Yeah.
It looks like that's actual newsreel footage. of, this film crew watching these parents send their kids off to be safe from the war.
Yeah.
But then it could also have been something Tarkovsky recreated. And I think what helps is he keeps it in that sepia filter.
Yeah.
Because the newsreel footage is in sepia, so he keeps it like that. So you can't discern, well, this is news and this is what I did.
Right.
And I really liked that because, it was Alexei remembering like, oh yeah, I remember when like all the kids had to be evacuated. And I remember, when all these young men were trampling through the snow and it's almost, I use this a lot. I used this word a lot last week, but it's almost like Tarkovsky is showing us that there are these beauty in remembering horrible moments from your life.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, Alexei was alive during, 1930. It's World War II, right? No, it's World War I.
No, it's World War II. Or it's before World War II.
Yeah. And it's, I don't know, like, maybe like we've done in the past, maybe I'm reaching too high.
I don't know if you can with this one.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess in a sense, yes, you can. But, with this, there's just so much interpretation that needs to be had. And some that we'll never get because it's just so personal and it's so private that, we'll never know.
Yeah.
Or at least my dumbass will never know. Because I don't know if I'll ever be able to figure that out.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I agree. Maybe we should give ourselves a year and a half reminder. Like, hey, we should redo Mirror.
Yeah, we should redo Mirror. Let's actually do a lot of research.
What's on the second disc? I was gonna pop it in after I was done watching it, but then when I was done, I was like,
I was too, and I completely ran out of time.
I didn't. We stayed up till 2, but I was like, you know what? I need to process everything I just saw, which clearly I didn't process anything, but I still loved it though. Yeah. Even though there are things I don't get, and I agree. As you've been saying it, I agree. There are things that Tarkovsky didn't want us to understand. Like, hey, I'm just showing you this to let you in on a little bit of my own personal life. I don't want you to understand it. Yeah. Like having his father involved in it and having his mother involved and, retelling moments, his mom being a proofreader for a news company or a newspaper. That was... He didn't have to add that, but he wanted to. Right. And that's also another one of my... That's probably on my... It's in the top 5. I love that whole sequence of Maria frantically getting back to the paper and, she's for sure she missed a mistake. And then her boss berating her, like... Because it's such a turn. Yeah. Like her boss was comforting her and then was like, well, hey, you know what? This is why you are a fuck up. Yeah. And it's just so...
And why your husband left you and...
Yeah, and it's just so... It's so strange, but it's also so real. Yeah. Too.
And it's also so odd that it almost feels out of place because Alexei has nothing to do with it.
Yeah, so how does he remember this?
Right. And this isn't really a memory. It's more like a reconstruction of a story his mother told him. Right?
Morty's Mind Blowers?
Exactly. This is something that maybe his mother had told him about. This is what happened at work today. And he is piecing together this story. And here it is. I remember that time you told me you got in trouble at work. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that makes more sense than anything. Because I did feel like it was out of place, but I didn't question it.
No, I mean...
And I think you're not meant to question it. And that's probably why the sequence is in black and white, because Alexei wasn't there. Most of his when he's remembering certain memories, it's in color. Yeah. Because he was...
Now, it also might be... it might not be his mother at all. I think I'm recalling the clothes. And the clothes make it seem like 60s. Which means that...
It could have been Natalia,
his wife. It probably was Natalia. And this would be something that makes just as much sense, which is he's remembering something that his wife said at work. Like, this is what happened at work today. You know?
And see, that makes more sense. But Tarkovsky, they call her Marishta in the scene.
Oh.
And that's why.
Oh, then there you go.
But you're right though. The clothes and the time.
The clothes don't scream 30s to me. But,
don't match.
Right.
So, but then again, it could be, Tarkovsky driving home the point of, at this point, Alexei is an unreliable narrator.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he's misremembering.
That's interesting.
Maybe it is his mother, but maybe he thought.
It's kind of like when you're trying to remember something, you're remembering a moment, but you're placing it in the wrong setting.
Mm-hmm.
I've done that.
That's yeah. I've done that before.
I wasn't there. I was here, right, or whatever. You know what I mean? Or
like last night, or Friday night, when we told Emily that we had watched one of the Lil Nas X music videos.
Oh, right.
And she was like, "We did?" And then luckily my wife was like, "Yeah, we watched it at our place."
Right.
But yeah, it's.
Or we're both wrong.
Or we're both wrong. Yeah, that's a. I mean, we don't know what the fuck we're talking about.
That's probably more likely.
I mean, what's that guy's name? He's a film critic. There's
a bunch.
I want to say Martin.
There's Ebert.
Ebert's
Martin.
dead.
You asshole! I knew his name until you asked me. You stupid. I'm so mad at you.
He's got a beard and glasses, and
he always has a pen.
He's old as fuck.
He's not that old.
Dude, I remember him being on like this DVD that we had when I was growing up of the Little Rascals, and him like talking about like why the Little Rascals, or like how the show came to be, and like this and that. And anyway, you know what? We'll talk about him
later.
The joke I was gonna make was, I'm sure if a film critic out there is actually listening to our bullshit, they're probably like, "Yeah, no, you guys are wrong.
You guys are wrong.
You're wrong.
You're wrong." Yeah, Peter Travers is like, "I don't got
it." Yeah, Peter Travers is like, "I'm gonna write this Rolling Stone article about how these two guys are wrong."
Gene Shalit's like, "They don't got it," as he's waxing his mustache.
Yeah, they don't know.
Is Gene Shalit still alive? Anyway,
I don't know. Ebert is not.
Yeah. Pobrecito. May you rest in peace.
But yeah, so it just, I loved it, man. I truly did.
Yeah.
There were times where I was just like, okay, was this necessary? Like, trying to think of one part in particular that I was like, this doesn't feel necessary to the story. I'm really trying to think.
Okay.
I mean, mainly the first kind of interaction between the Doctor and Maria.
Uh-huh.
It just seems, it just doesn't add anything to the plot other than that he breaks the fence.
Yeah.
And then he just kind of goes about his merry way.
Yeah. Well, a lot of it is where they live in relation to where he was going. I think a lot of it also is, it introduces who his mother is and what kind of person she was. And of course, there's that, then without that, we wouldn't have got that awesome shot with the wind, which is so good.
I know.
So, you're wrong about that one. I like that one. And then we wouldn't have this poster either. So
that's true. Well, it just, but all in all, I really loved it. I thought for sure though we were about to see her kill that rooster.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God. Like, because, there are, film laws are different in different countries. So I was like, oh my God, she's about to kill that.
Yeah.
Because I thought like, oh, like they'll probably, bring in like a fake one. No, she brought in a real one. Yeah. And that fucking axe looked sharp as hell.
Yeah.
And I was like.
Now that was also a really cool moment with the feathers hitting her. Just like two feathers hit her face. Yeah. That woman's face. So good. And I don't know if that's on purpose or not. But
well, and I love how it clearly affects Maria.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because when we see her face when she looks directly into camera, she looks almost sort of trying to find the right word. She almost like she enjoyed killing it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like she got some sort of, I don't want to say pleasure, but she enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even though in the shot previous she was like, oh no, I don't think I should. I can't. I really can't. And then she's like, oh well, maybe I did. I don't know, but I did like that shot where there's this obvious turn to Maria and she just looks directly into camera.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I really liked it.
Yeah, it's really good. I'll definitely be revisiting it. Again.
And I will have to figure out what the hell's on that second disc.
Yeah, you gotta figure out what's on that second disc.
Because I
read the booklet.
I was even on the Criterion website. I'm like, what is on it? And because and usually like on my Fantastic Mr. Fox one, it has 2 discs, but the second disc says the supplements. Mm-hmm. Or no, I think it's one's a Blu-ray, one's a DVD, and then one says like supplements.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, maybe it's just special features, but it just says Blu-ray on it. So I'm like, is it the movie again? Is it more movie? Like, what is it?
Yeah.
So I guess I'm gonna have to figure that out.
We're gonna figure it out.
So Jeremy, is there anything else you want to add, or are you ready to wrap up?
I think I'm ready to wrap up. I think that
this is probably
as good as
our
it's
quickest episode.
It's as good as it's gonna get, I think, because we could gush over the visuals or the
I do want to bring in one. Oops, I forgot.
Oh, okay, oops, I forgot.
I laughed so fucking hard when they show the scene of Alexi's father coming home from the war, and he and his sister are racing towards him, and the actor, who oddly enough his name is Ignat, trips and just eats shit, dude. He just fucking hits the ground, but then gets up like it's nothing. He scorpions himself, which if anyone doesn't know what that is, when your legs fully touch your head, and he fucking did. And I even rewound it so Ashley could see, and she thought that was pretty funny. She was like, I wonder if that was meant to happen.
Of course.
Or if that was an accident.
I don't know if Tarkovsky does accidents.
I would give him a pass if that was an accident.
Okay.
And he just thought it was like, that's fucking funny.
Yeah.
Or it was meant to show, or he was like, you know what? Hey, that shows just how excited he is to see his father.
Yeah.
So we'll leave it in.
Yeah.
But it was fucking hilarious, dude.
It's funny when kids get hurt. I've always said that. I've always said it. It's funny when kids get hurt,
We're not sadists. It's just fucking funny.
It's funny, yeah.
But yeah, I agree. Yeah, we could go on and on about the visuals, but I don't think anyone would care to listen.
No, not talk about visuals on a podcast. No, probably not.
Yeah, no. But trust us when we say that they are gorgeous.
Oh yeah. Either get the Criterion if you subscribe to the Criterion channel.
Which I heard it is a little expensive.
It is very expensive, but if you are Mr. Moneybags out there or Mrs. Moneybags,
you got the Black Platinum card.
Yeah, then check it out on there. I'm pretty sure it's on there.
Yeah,
and check it out. It's awesome. Or find a cheap copy of it. I have a pretty inexpensive copy from Russia. That is a region-free Blu-ray. So
nice.
That I got before this, of course.
Yeah, I one last thing I want to leave you guys on is I agree with what you said last week about the film, that it's visual poetry.
Yeah.
I think that sums up the movie.
It's visual poetry.
Perfectly. That's all it is. Yeah.
Alrighty, man. What are we talking about next week?
So, as you even helped me try to decide, because I hadn't...
Yeah, but you didn't go with my suggestion, so...
I'm sorry. We will do that.
Okay.
I mean, I still have a few more picks before the end of this season.
That's true.
So I really thought about it, and I even tried to get my wife to help. And she had a good pick, but her pick is the one she told me I should do. It's very hard to find. I mean, I'm sure you, of all your well of resources, you probably could find it. But I know when I had to find the one she suggested, it was hard.
Yeah.
So I'm going with one that, I've seen it once and I love it.
Yeah.
So next week, we're talking about SLC Punk.
SLC Punk, man, some Matthew Lillard up in here.
I've been on a huge Matthew Lillard kick recently. During October, Ashley and I watched Scream. And it was a first for the both of us. And Matthew Lillard steals every scene he's in.
Couldn't agree more.
Did you know Stu was supposed to come back in Scream 3?
Was he?
Having survived a TV to the head.
Yeah.
And he was gonna orchestrate new Ghostface killings, but then that's when.
Do you think that's gonna be in the new Scream? Do you think it's gonna be Matthew Lillard?
How fucking awesome would that be?
That would be super rad.
Because everyone else is back. Fucking Courtney Cox and fucking David Arquette.
David Arquette, yeah.
But then right around the time that they were beginning production of Scream 3, Columbine happened, and they thought it best to not have a former high school student doing, because I think the killings were going to involve a high school, and so they were like, we need to change this.
Damn.
But then, as I mentioned on Friday, Ashley bullied me into watching Hackers.
Bullied you.
Bullied me, which is wild because that movie came out a year before Scream.
Yeah.
But Matthew Lillard also steals every fucking scene that he's in.
Hey man, I've never seen Hackers. Don't wanna. So
I think you should, just on principle, so you can join me in agreeing that movie is so overly 90s.
Yeah.
Like they
just 290s.
They really doubled down on, hey, this is the culture now. This is what's going to be like in 10 years.
Yeah.
And how wrong they were.
Yeah.
But we're not talking about that. We're talking about SLC Punk.
Man.
This is one of Ashley's favorite movies.
Soundtrack is super dope.
Yeah. It's got one of my favorite scenes in it, which I love that the tuna train uses him from that scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's got my boy Jason Segel in it.
Yep.
Yep. It's got so many great people in it, but of course Matthew Lillard again. He steals every fucking scene.
Yeah.
And for those of you out there, no, we will never talk about the sequel, because how dare Netflix try to make a fucking sequel to this?
It's the same writer director.
And he didn't bring anyone back?
I don't know, man. I don't know what's there.
Well, see, and I could have sworn I read somewhere that Matthew Lillard and most of the cast were like, yeah, we would 100% come back and do a sequel.
That'd be weird, because it's like,
well, the punk scene in general has kind of died out.
Yeah, which is unfortunate. I'm hoping it comes back. But
Which will tie into the episode.
That's
you
true.
know?
That's
anyway,
true. We will.
Sorry that this episode was a little shorter, but
Is it?
I would say it clocks in at about 55 minutes.
No, that's not so bad.
Last week was like 59.
Yeah, so we're doing great.
Quit trying to fit us into a box.
Yeah, man, we're not fit in a box. All right? I guess it depends.
Well, we hope everyone enjoyed us trying to paint a word picture of Mirror.
Trying so hard.
Trying so hard and got so far. But in the end, it didn't really matter. And we will see you guys next week for SLC Punk.